Welcome to 360 Viral Trends TV, your number one hub for raw, unfiltered and fearless coverage of viral trends and global news that matter, especially across Africa and around the world. If this is your first time here or you have been watching without subscribing, pause for a moment, hit that like button, subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Your support empowers us to uncover untold truths and shine the light where others won't. We also want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments because your voice truly matters. Disclaimer: the following content is based on credible public sources and verified online reports. It's meant strictly for educational, analytical and informational purposes. We do not promote violence, hate or misinformation. Our mission is to inform, spark meaningful dialogue and advocate for African self-determination. Now to today's top story. He never asked for a loan. That was the silent but powerful message carried by Captain Ibrahim Traore during his historic appearance at the Russians' Victory Day celebration. In a widely shared video, Traore's presence was commanding, flown in by a Russian presidential jet, escorted by Russian intelligence and treated with high-level dignity. This was more than a visit, it was a statement, a clear symbol of mutual respect, and it makes us ask, how many African leaders have ever received such honor from a global power? Now, let's contrast that with another moment, one many Nigerians haven't forgotten, when President Tinubu visited France, hoping to meet with President Macron. He was left waiting. Macron, fully aware of Tinubu's presence, chose to fly to Egypt instead. That moment wasn't just diplomatic coldness, it was a reflection of how African leaders are often treated when they travel, begging for loans instead of showing up as equals. Let's be real, why should the West respect us when our own leaders walk in as beggars, not as partners?
Is it possible that a Nigerian president will go to France for a working visit, then a French president will not leave the same visitor and not travel to Egypt?
I was going to ask you that, Barrister, in a couple of seconds after now. I was really going to ask you, the president of Nigeria has gone to France on a working visit, and as it stands, 2 weeks to be precise, the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, is found in Egypt. Barrister, can we just oppose this to relationship?
That will tell you that Tinubu lied to Nigerians. I mean, the lie has been exposed. With what happened now, it has been exposed. I don't even think whether Emmanuel Macron knows that Tinubu is there. I'm not joking. I don't think so. He went there for medical help. I don't think Emmanuel Macron knows that a Nigerian president is in his country. I don't think so. You can see how these people lie to themselves.
Barrister, what is the implication of telling the people the truth about your medical status? Just like we found the king of the UK telling the people what his medical situation is all about. What exactly, Barrister, is the implication of telling your people the truth?
When you have that kind of man at the end of affairs, David, don't expect much. I have told you here, a snake will always be long. Somebody who has been lying from infancy, from childhood to adulthood, he lied himself into office. He has been lying all his life. So why are you expecting him to tell you the truth now? Tell me why.
First, there are some quarters that say that the president is having conversations with some dignitaries and, of course, ministers in France, and not just the president. Is there the possibility that Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, would leave his guests to his ministers travel to Africa?
Hold on. No. Why are you not seeing Tinubu and the so-called dignitaries talking? Why are you not seeing them holding meeting? Or where they are, the internet did not get there. No, where Tinubu went in France, you mean social media and internet is not accessible to that place as to show us what he's doing, the people he's meeting and all that? You mean such a thing? Is it the first time he traveled to that place and we didn't know what he went there to do?
Let's look at the position of the parliament, people in the parliament. With these kind of revelations that we've uncovered just a couple of minutes ago, what can the parliament do to checkmate the executive at the top at this time?
My dear, please, when you are talking about parliament, don't mention Nigeria. We don't have any parliament.
In a refreshing twist, Captain Traore's visit took another powerful turn. He addressed African students at a top Russian university, and it wasn't just a speech, it was a call to action. He urged them to remain focused, get educated, and return home to build Africa. He highlighted how China's rise was driven by this very strategy, investing in education, bringing knowledge home, and building power from within. Now let's ask, when last did a Western university invite an African president to inspire their students? Why is it that only a handful of African leaders are given that kind of platform, while the rest are seen through the lens of dependency and neo-colonial control?
Scientists who invented that thing. For example, we had people who were called Traore, and we also had people who were called Mendeleev. As for me, I love science. I am a scientist. I love science so much. At any time, if someone wakes me up and asks me to recite the periodic table, I have it memorized just like that. It's the same thing with chemical equations that we've been balancing since the beginning of high school. We're really good at it. When we're asked to balance a chemical equation on paper, we do it. When in thermodynamics, we're told to calculate the standard entropy of formation, we do it. This is to show you that practical experience is very important, and this laboratory, which would allow us to practice, is something we lack in our countries. For example, we are at war. We pay for equipment, we pay for ammunition, weapons, and everything else. When I talk to you about ammunition, explosives, and all that, Mali produces cotton, Burkina produces it, Niger produces it, but you know very well that it's the cellulose from cotton that's processed to make explosive powder. Why can't we manage to do it? Because we don't have practical chemistry. I think, still along the same lines, you can see all the types of missiles that the Russian Federation is able to develop. And the most recent one is Oroshini, which is making the whole world tremble, and that no one wants to have. But just the fuel and everything related to missiles. It's all chemistry. Are we able to actually create this fuel to try to build an engine to propel a rocket or a missile? There are so many examples that we couldn't finish listing them all. But this is to tell you that you are lucky to be here.
But the moment that truly left an impact was the mutual respect shared between President Putin and Captain Ibrahim Traore. In one clip, Captain Traore was seen addressing President Putin in Russian language, a respectful and symbolic gesture that showed his appreciation for the honor he received. And in return, President Putin acknowledged the critical role Africans played in both world wars, something we barely hear from Western leaders. It was more than a handshake, it was a balanced diplomacy where African dignity was not sacrificed but celebrated.
Я правильно произнес? Для меня честь принимать участие в этих празднованиях, посвященных Великой Победе.
Ваш нынешний визит в Россию на празднование 80-летия Победы весьма символичен и отражает дружественный характер российско-буркинийских отношений. Хотел бы вспомнить также и о вкладе вашей страны в разгром германского нацизма и его сателлитов. Около 30 тысяч жителей нынешней Буркина-Фасо воевали в составе войск антигитлеровской коалиции. В формированиях сражающаяся Франция под руководством легендарного сына французского народа генерала Шарля де Голля.
We are very glad to see you, and first of all, I would like to thank you once again for making this decision to participate in the commemorative events to honor the 80th anniversary of the victory in the Great Patriotic War. I remember our constructive and useful conversation back in 2023 when you visited our country for the first time to participate in the Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg. This time, your visit to Russia to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the victory is a great symbol, and it reflects the friendly character of relations between Burkina Faso and Russia. And I would like to mention your contribution, your country's contribution to defeating German Nazism and its allies. Some 30,000 Burkinabe fought with the anti-Hitler coalition forces under the guidance, under the leadership of legendary Frenchman Charles de Gaulle. And now we are united by our joint goal to fight against terrorism and extremism, and we will continue to support the Republic and restoring constitutional and lawful order, to fight against unlawful factions that are still operating in some parts of Burkina Faso. In recent years, we have accomplished great progress in mutually beneficial cooperation in various fields. In the end of 2023, after more than 30 years of hiatus, the embassy of Russia in Ouagadougou was turned operational again, and the economic cooperation is also important, even if trade is modest. It's growing, which is a good trend, and we need to preserve it. And we will continue to work together on further strengthening our economic ties and diversify further our trade cooperations. And it was useful to hold economic days of Burkina Faso in Russia that were held in 2024, and it was attended by the high-level Burkinabe delegation led by the Deputy Prime Minister, and we are working now on establishing intergovernmental commission. We have already established a working group to look into that matter, and we will continue to support your country in training personnel in 2024 and in 2025. The quota of Russian state scholarship for Burkinabe nationals was more than doubled, and this year we are ready to receive 27 more students from your country at the state's expense, and in total more than 3,500 Burkinabe received higher education in Russia. Cultural and humanitarian ties also play an important part, and it is assisted by the Russian house that is operating in Ouagadougou since 2024. In particular, they are teaching Russian language there. There is a great potential in cooperation in the field of healthcare and sanitary regulations. Recently, on April 24-25, Madam Popova visited Ouagadougou and discussed the development of scientific and research infrastructure and training of personnel. We also prioritize humanitarian support for Burkina Faso. Last year, we allocated 25,000 tons of wheat free of charge, and this month we are going to send a large supply of other food products to Ouagadougou. We appreciate the support from Burkina Faso on many international platforms, including the UN and other multilateral platforms. A useful format of cooperation is the consultations between Russia and Sahel States Confederation. April this year, such a session was held in Moscow with foreign ministers. So there are good prospects in many areas, and we will have a chance to discuss some of them today. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Mr. President. I hope I pronounced my felicitation properly. For me, it was an honor to be part of these commemorative events devoted to the great victory anniversary, and I would like to thank you for inviting us. It was a great honor for us. And I need to say that during this visit, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about culture, about history, that laid the foundation of the resistance of the Russian people, of its struggle. I learned of sacrifices your people made, and due to these sacrifices, we are free now. And I would like to thank you once again for this invitation. And this meeting allows us to think about what's happening in the world today and to think about the prospects as well. The obstacles that we can see today must not stop us. These obstacles, in some way, they are even an advantage, because despite all the sanctions that were imposed on the Russian Federation by many states, Russia is still holding the leading position internationally, and we understand this. We understand how difficult it is.
Je tiens à dire que j'ai été émerveillé de voir l'enchaînement des engins qui ont défilé devant nous.
And I watched the parade. I watched the soldiers marching in front of us during the parade. I saw the equipment, including the tanks that from the times of World War II, and I saw the modern equipment, and we would like to see the cooperation between our countries developing rapidly, developing swiftly, and acquire new shapes and forms. We thank you for your attitude towards Burkina Faso. Today I visited Mendeleev Institute, and we understand that apart from defense and security, there is another essential field, which is science and education, and we would like to see Russia assisting us in training and educating our youth to help us to develop our own industries, our own enterprises. Machinery, other types of manufacturing, because it's very important for Africa. We believe that terrorism that we can see today is a legacy of imperialism, and that's something that we fight against. If we put an end to this war, if we have a strong army, then we can develop our motherland. This is why we continue to fight. That is why we have this struggle. That's why it's important to train personnel, to educate people. In Africa, Africa needs a lot when it comes to equipment, when it comes to technology and machinery, and there are a lot of expectations in this regard. And that's why we still need to do a lot, we need to work a lot, and we would like to request an assistant, and the most important thing you can help with is this exchanges, transfers of technology, exchange of experience. We need to understand how we can use the experience and the know-how that Russian universities have, and how we can spread it to Burkina Faso, how we can open branches of the Russian universities and Burkina Faso to be more efficient in the way we educate our people, our citizens. This is the essential task that we are faced with. We would like to see Burkina Faso developing, and we would like to see students coming to us to learn. to learn various sciences. We can see great young people in the Russian Federation. Among them, there are a lot of researchers, young scientists, and we would like to learn from you. And another important area is military. We have a lot of projects in the field of defense.
As we wrap up today's story, we leave you with this. When we through independence come for nations like Nigeria, Cameroon, and so many other countries that are still under the grip of foreign control, when we respect be earned not through aid, but through power, unity, and self-determination. Before we go, we will show you some exclusive clips and images from the Victory Day Parade. Take a moment to watch and reflect on what real leadership, sovereignty, and pride should look like for Africa. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay safe and stay informed. Now, let's watch the clip.
Парад! Ирра! К торжественному маршу! Побатальонно! На одного линейного дистанции! Первый батальон прямо! Остальные направо! На плечо! Равнение направо! Шагом марш!
Торжественное шествие войск возглавляет командующий военным парадом генерал-полковник Олег Солюков. По традиции, все военные парады на Красной площади открывают барабанщики Московского военного музыкального училища. Юные музыканты задают темп и ритм движения парадных расчетов. Командир парадного расчета, начальник училища, заслуженный артист России, полковник Александр Герасимов. Многие заслуженные и народные артисты, деятели искусств, были воспитанниками этого старейшего военно-музыкального учреждения. Знаменные группы знамени Победы, государственного флага Российской Федерации и знамени Вооруженных сил России. Историческую часть парада открывают знаменные группы со штандартами 10 фронтов заключительного этапа Великой Отечественной войны. Военнослужащие знаменной роты проносят 45 боевых знамен прославленных соединений и наиболее отличившихся воинских частей. Знаменную группу сопровождает почетный караул 3 видов вооруженных сил: сухопутных войск, военно-воздушных сил и военно-морского флота. В его строю лучшие военнослужащие отдельного комендантского